Do you smell shit?
Always. Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I am Sly.
And I am Enough is Enough Spook.
Do you think it's enough?
It's never enough.
Let's just go straight into the mire of shit. Interestingly, before we actually look at the game, there's a couple of articles talking about how the way our game plan has changed from last year to this year.
What, so we had one last year and we don't have one this year?
I'm going to get fucking back to that so fucking hard. You're not going to fucking believe how fucking often I'm going to fucking swear about it. Last year, 2018, we were 15th for marks in the league.
Yep.
Last 9 games, excluding the Hawthorn game, we were 4th.
What, we've taken 4 marks in the
we're
last 9
4th
games?
for taking marks, which shows we're chipping the shit out of the ball.
Yep.
And just taking a lot of marks. Kicking long from set position, we were 2nd in the league last year. Now we're 13th.
Yeah, we're aiming high. Those big numbers are coming back.
Win use from defensive 50, we were 3rd last year. Now we're 15th. Boundary use from defensive 50 was 7th last year. Now we're 2nd. So it shows we're playing a lot slower. We're hitting the boundary and we're just chipping the shit out of the ball. Nick McGuire also wrote a really good article last week.
Yep.
Where he said between round 18 and the grand final last year, Collingwood ranked first with pressure.
Well, they're ranking first with pressure now. I'm feeling over the top with pressure.
I'm feeling aneurysm pressure. From rounds 1 to 5, we were first for points from turnover with 59.2. West Coast and Richmond won flags with 57, averaging it from turnovers. Since round 6, that's dropped to 43.9 for us. That's 14th in the league. Over the last 4 games, again, Hawthorn excluded, it's dropped to 36 points. So it actually shows that frantic pressure, which has been a hallmark of Buckley teams to an extent, is just not there. I actually thought it was a little bit better last week, but after reading all this shit, it's like, oh, maybe I just imagined it.
I think you imagined it.
I could have imagined it. What did you think of the game in 6 words?
This is one of the worst games of football I can recall seeing.
Since the North Melbourne game.
Why do I get challenged into repeating this statement every week?
Yeah. I actually am going to fucking go sing our praises, yay. From about 8 weeks ago, we were saying there were issues. That they were slowing down, they were flat-footed, they were stagnant, and it's increased. And like a few people took us to task and said, no, we're still leading stats in blah, blah.
Was that Mick?
Malthouse?
We're gone.
No. You look at the way it's deteriorated, particularly over the last 3 weeks, and now there's a lot of alarm bells ringing from all around the fucking place. Our ball movement is just about...
glacial.
Yeah, I was going to say Jurassic period. It's really horrible, and it doesn't seem to have any audacity or... I don't know. How I asked you this previously. How the fuck do you get to 2nd spot so you're actually rising up the ladder while your form is actually deteriorating?
It's an incredible... it's incredible. It really is incredible. I don't have an answer for it. I think we ummed and ahed about how this could be possibly happening over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how it could be happening. We're paying very... Well, I mean, there's sides probably that are performing exceptionally well at this time of year, but we were a contender, and we're absolutely playing now we're playing like a pretender now. We're playing like a bottom 8 side.
Yep.
Now, granted, you look at the results this week, and Geelong lost, GWS lost, Adelaide lost, all with shabby performances. So maybe it's not just us. Is it us? Do you think it's us?
It is us.
It is us. All right, we've established it's us.
Because you've got to look at the one thing with Geelong is they're consistently being good, and they've lost a couple of games. Sure, you probably didn't expect them to lose to GWS at home or Bulldogs. But the form line for them has been, okay, dip, back up, dip. For us, the form line has just been, let's just go down here.
It's like a ski slope.
GWS is similar. It's like, it's not that their form is deteriorating. They've always been known to be vulnerable every now and again. Adelaide, I don't even know how they're up to begin with, so that they're actually in there, thinking, okay, well, that's probably really where you're about. So you are going to be a spasmodic side, because I look at Adelaide as about an 8th to 10th team, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. We have just been going down. The statistics show it. So it's not just us saying now, hey, we're flat-footed, we're not moving the ball, and all that sort of shit. Statistics are now showing it. And to slam Buckley, I'm going to slam Buckley and defend him on 2 different hands. So, to me, it is fucking really reminiscent of, and as we said it a while ago, performances in 2015, 2016, 2017 where you're just sitting there and going, I don't know what the fuck I am watching.
No.
How the hell can you actually be second, now we're third? And I've never experienced this in my life watching Collingwood, and I've watched them for over 40 years. And I've watched them when they've been shit. 2004, 2005 was quite a funny period. But I could watch them. I could sit there and watch the game. How the fuck can we be top 4 material, and I'm watching the game and thinking, I just seriously want to turn this off. I cannot digest what I'm seeing.
I don't think you're alone there.
And this has happened too often under Buckley. So I'm going to take the first 2 years of Buckley's reign out, because that's when they had the premiership list, which almost
had to be decimated.
Yeah, but they decimated. But like, they had a quality list which was going to make finals. Following those 2 years where Buckley traded out the likes of Willingham, Dawes, Thomas, and all those sort of guys, then he started making his own list. Since then, he's had consistency in one season last year. Mm. And the rest has been this shit. He's in a couple of those seasons, I think 14 and 15, we had those really good starts of the year and then just imploded. And that's what this one's starting to look like. I think we'll make the 8 because we'll out of nowhere we'll pull 2 good games out and we'll get 12 wins or something. But we're going to finish in the bottom of the 8 if we keep going like this. So I really would say, and I'm going to fucking say, and you can attest to this, I have defended Buckley for the last 7 years.
He has attended to Buckley. He's attended to Buckley. I can attend to the fact that he supported Buckley for the last...
It's pissed you off. It's pissed a lot of people off.
Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, it's pissed a lot of people off. If their form implodes, they should sack him, Harvey, everyone in that coach's box, and just start over. Because you can't fucking do this for 4 out of 5 years and expect that you're going in the right direction. And too much of the Buckley tenure has been on, when we get the players back, and when we do this, and when we do that, and you tick all these check boxes, then we're going to have a good season. And I'm fucking sick of waiting. I've defended the rebuild because I said, we had guys like Scharenberg and Freeman who we tried to bring in, and they had injuries, and they brought in guys like Jordan Russell and Clinton Young and Quinton Leach, who were meant to be sort of transitional players, and then they had injuries, and Russell didn't really work out. So the list management was terrible for about 4 years, and that wouldn't have helped any coach. But this is actually just doing my fucking head in. And one of the bad things, and everyone would have seen this, is how terrible was the coaching on Friday night. We had Sicily just mopping up in defence, and it took forever for him to actually respond to that. It's like, can I fucking work this out? Too often toward the end of the game, they had the goalie stranded on the bench while Callum Brown, who had 15 possessions for the game, and not that the goalie had a great game, but if I'm going to want someone to win the game there for me, it's probably going to be the goalie with the bigger body.
That was a massively baffling one, that one.
Yeah, Brown in the middle, and it's like, no, you have now been coached for 8 years.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been caught out with that one.
And this is now where I'll defend Buckley. Unless there's something going on behind the scenes, like I've always sort of said, they get trained too hard. So they're physically not up to a prime condition where they can execute. But fuck, some of the skill errors, you can't blame Buckley. There was a beautiful play where in the last quarter where Pendlebury streamed out of the centre. You saw Hoskin Elliott on his far right. He did a little hook kick, and Hoskin Elliott, it just bounced off his fucking chest. He mopped it up. He snapped and he hit the point post, so he kicked on the floor. You can't blame the coach for that sort of shit. How do you get paid? I don't know what Hoskin Elliott's getting paid, but being an AFL player, I'd say he's probably in the 350,000 range. And I'm not just fucking singling him out, because they all did it. Pendlebury's disposal efficiency has dropped way down.
It was terrible.
In the last 6 weeks or so. How the fuck, as an AFL player, you cannot hit a target from 20 metres away? I don't fucking know.
They all look equally rattled, though, and that's one of the more baffling things as to what has absolutely brought this lack of confidence or lack of self-belief in there. At the moment, they're not playing with any flair, without any drive, without any run. Any of that natural ability that was really setting them above the pack last year has now just become, they're fucking modelling along like... it's like watching, like the game last, what was it, Friday night? It was like watching the under-10s run around, where you got just essentially the whole pack following, like a scrum, following the ball around. Yeah. The congestion was abysmal. The skills were completely non-existent.
And there's a few times we won the ball and we looked up and was just like, all our players are right here. I can't do anything. And I had to stop.
They looked panicked every time they took the ball, and they just threw the ball in the boot and just bombed it long. And that is a side lacking conviction that it can actually pass the ball now with skill. it's just gone into this reflex reaction of
And
stupidity.
you know what I want to hear? I want to hear from Buckley, because I saw about half a second of his press conference. He goes, "We're not gelling as a team." It's like, you know what? I just want to fucking hear none of the double speak, the 1984 Georgia. Well, this is all we're going to say without saying a lot. I just want to hear him just come and go, "This is shit. We're not doing what we want to do. It's on all of us to improve." I don't want Buckley to be singling out players, as he has done sometimes in a very Malthousian way. It's just, all of you got to fucking get better. With Buckley, I thought, okay, he tried to be a little bit proactive. He started to go in the middle. He had side bottom and half forward, and then they swapped around once the ball had been bounced and all that sort of shit. But still, I just look at that. The problems with that side, I don't know where it begins. I don't know what the spark is. I mean, I found it a little bit funny during the game, after the game, people were bagging Mason Cox, and it's like, okay, he had a shit game, and he's been pretty average this year, and he was just getting pushed under the ball way too easy. But for fuck's sake, you got like, what's he on about, 30 games, 40 games? You got guys like Pendlebury, Sidebottom, Treloar, DeGoey, all these guys who have so much more skill, so much more experience, who are doing fucking nothing to turn that around. Why are you bagging the one guy? And the one thing I will defend Cox with, and this has been another hallmark of Buckley's tenure, we bag forwards, but then you look at the delivery and you think, who the fuck would mark a ball the way we deliver it? You could have Gary Ablett Sr., Tony Lockett, and, fucking Peter Dacos in that forward line, and the way we deliver the ball, we would just kill them. Because we're always wrong siding it, we're just bombing it, we're not looking. And it's like, well, so you're blaming Cox for fucking not being able to take a mark when he's standing there, they're kicking it over his head. It's just,
I think
frustrating.
A lot of it comes back to the structure is completely devoid of structure, if that makes sense. And I think the two biggest linchpins missing at the moment are Adams to make the fucking midfield look better, and Jaden Stevenson to give some run, some creativity in that forward line, because both of them are fucking stagnant. We cannot buy clearance, and when we do somehow manage to manufacture one, the delivery into the forward line is abysmal.
Yeah, it is.
You saw Elliott come back, and what did he end up with, about 7 touches or something? And look, it'd be easy to pot him, but for fuck's sake, I don't think the ball went anywhere near him. And he was chasing, like everyone else, they're running up to bloody the half-back flank to try and get a possession. And then when they do, what the fuck is up the ground to kick to?
And we were saying this a couple of years ago, where some people were critical of Darcy Moore as a forward not producing enough, and I was all saying, well, fuck, look at the delivery. Yeah. Why would you expect him to produce anything at all? And that's just where we've reverted back to. And that's the really scary thing for me. It's like, you've got now, is it a form slump, or is it a total breakdown in the systems, which is now reproducing what you produced for 3 years in 15, 16, 17, when you tried, but you were abysmal. And every now and again, it clicked. You always had those bizarre performances, like where they'd beat a Geelong or something, and you're just going, well, why aren't you doing that all the time? And then you got a bit of buoyancy and thinking, oh, no, we've got our season on track, and then the following week they just go back to shit. And I don't know why they haven't been able to maintain that level of effort and application and execution.
I mean, you look at and the way the game unfolded. What did we kick? The first 4 to Hawthorn didn't kick anything, or they were missing a couple.
They kicked like 4 straight into their 1 up.
You're looking there thinking, well, okay, you're treating a side that is probably not that great with the right attitude, and you should build on this, and then they just stop dead.
Yeah.
Now, and then you look at the last quarter where we got about 18 points up at one
17
stage.
points up, yeah.
And then we just fucking rolled over. And how many goals did Hawthorn score to win?
Yeah,
4 or 5 or something.
Yeah.
It's just absurd how you can actually just switch off like that, and especially when you should be so self-critical of your performances that you be. I mean, whether it's the fact that you're so shit scared of this happening that you've made it happen, or whether, and that comes back to the confidence type of things, or what is it that actually broke inside you?
And again, that's where, and I said it last week, you put it on the leadership group to fucking just go, hey,
consolidate.
And Pendlebury, last week I didn't want to single him out, but I'm going to single him out this week. As the captain, he needs to be able to assert his will on the game and drag everyone in his wake toward the right direction. He might not win, but you don't see that with Pendlebury as captain. And it's really something like Nick Maxwell, who had a fraction of the talent of Scott Pendlebury, but was so much of a fucking leader.
Field leader, yeah.
That he knew when to shout, he knew when to coax, he never shirked the contest. Not saying Pendlebury shirks contest, but, Maxwell was just all ferocity and just fucking said, hey, like in the grand final draw, this is slipping away. I got to do something. I got to fucking lead the team back to salvation. And he did that. The interesting thing with the stats: clearances 27-42 our way, clearances at stoppages 17-32 our way, centre clearances were 10-10, contested possessions 141-161 our way. So all those indicators are massively in our favour. Yet the inside 50s were 57-35.
Massive difference. Yeah.
And that just shows that the systems are breaking down. And this thing, where you're going, oh, well, we just try to get something going, but somewhere along the line, some shit disposal or fucking insane decision just totally unravels it, and then the whole side just gets caught in the mess and massively out of position, and the opposition just go the other way. And you look at Hawthorn's a fucking average side. They're very well coached. They're trying to rebuild on the run, but Clarkson himself said it. We're a middle of the rung side. I don't know who they got fucking next week, but I don't expect them to really win. And they've played this year like that. They've played like an Adelaide 8th, 9th, 10th side. They'll have some good games and then they'll have some inconsistent games, and that's what you're going to expect because they've lost guys like Hyde Mitchell, Roughhead. They've lost all this talent, so they're trying to replace it with trading and all that. And you get in this middle of the rung side, and we made them look like fucking premiers. We made Sicily look like Billy Picken.
Yeah, agree to a point. I mean, the standard of that game across the board was deplorable. It was a shit game of football to watch.
Oh, it was a shit game.
So, I mean, you can't pump up Hawthorn's effort too much because they're
because they won.
Well, they won, but they're just as guilty of bad play as what we were. We were just more shit than they were.
So the thing with Hawthorn, though, is I think they were really inaccurate early. And if they were accurate, and this has been a disturbing trend against North and against Bulldogs and against Fremantle, is opposition has been inaccurate and kept us either in the game or flattered our efforts. The North game, we should have lost by 15 goals. Bulldogs and Fremantle had periods in quarters there where if they kicked straight, they would have been 5 goals up and that would have been the end of the game. Hawthorn did the same thing. They were really inaccurate, and then they got their systems going in the last quarter, and they just ran over the top of us, and we had no way of stopping them. Yeah. So that was just frustrating for me. And this is what I'm saying. It's like they're a middle-of-the-run slide, and we made them look a lot better than that.
Oh, well, at least we've got a couple of easy games coming up, and we'll be back on track.
Yeah. Final thoughts about this game?
Fuck it off.
Okay, we'll be back with Medium Aphidic. We're back with Medium Aphidic.
I don't think I blinked in between the break.
We need something in between that break.
To break the break?
Yeah, like commercial.
I
might mark a Collingwood performances as a laxative because it gives me the shits. Dave Matthews.
They certainly need some run.
Dave Matthews from GWS.
Yes.
When Adam Treloar talked about Coniglio, I think he said come to Collingwood or some shit. Dave Matthews.
Why would he say that?
Because well, if I'm going to go down drinking the Kool-Aid, you fucking are going to come with me.
Come to Jonestown. It's a wonderful vacation place.
Matthews sort of went off at Treloar and talked about how initially he told Giants he was staying, and then he wanted to go to Richmond, and then he wanted to go to Collingwood, so he didn't actually really know what he wanted. And then Matthews said, which I'm really surprised, I don't think we've missed him too much. In the same article, he also said they would have liked to keep him. And it's like, which one is it? You want him or you don't want him?
Well, I mean, how many flags have they won in that time? They're obviously a yardstick of success the way they're tracking.
I understand football's a fucking business, but if I had an opportunity, if I was 20 years younger and I was tearing it up in the TAC and I was going to get drafted and I got drafted by one of the expansion clubs, I would get the fuck out of it as soon as my contract ran, and I'd go to a club with either a Victorian club with history, or I'd go to one of the clubs like West Coast or Port or Adelaide who has a great football heritage. I would not give a shit about the Giants or the Suns.
I don't think anyone does, to be honest.
I was going to say, much like the fans, Dane Beams.
Frankenstein wasn't a popular monster either,
No, he wasn't.
Yes, Dane Beams.
Took mental health leave.
I know how he feels.
I don't know.
No, actually, I don't know how he feels. That's probably it's an inappropriate
Thanks,
joke.
Robbo. Yeah.
No, that's terrible. I'll take that one back.
Yeah, Paul, at least you apologise. Not like, Mark Robinson, who went on SEN about 6 hours later. Yeah. I'm actually surprised they even announced this. He's had hip surgery, and it's like, well, do you really have to tell us his movements? Could you just let him...
But he came out and made a statement himself. So, I imagine you don't do that sort of thing without the endorsement or blessing of the club, so it must have been done in unison.
Oh no, but I'm just saying. Well, I would have thought the club just said, "Look, do you really want to make this public at this time? You're not going to be playing the rest of the season. Do you want to just go off and recover without that scrutiny on you? Because then you get."
I think it takes some of the pressure off you, though, in terms of, well, you're going to be left alone now to get away with it. But if you're sitting there being harassed saying, well, how's your hip this week? How's your hip this week? Why aren't you at training? Then that's a whole different ballgame. So I can imagine that's the reasoning behind it.
There's also a rumour going around that he's going to retire.
How old is he?
29.
Yeah, that's possible. Well, Boyd did it, and he was what?
25.
Mm-hmm. That won't make Heather happy.
No. This was going around last week. Games experience named on injury list. We topped this list with 1,400.
Go Woods!
Obviously,
was that appropriate?
Sorry?
Was it appropriate to cheer them then? They've won something.
We won something. 1,420. Obviously, we've got a few bigger games holders on there, like Daniel Wells, and who's the other one? I don't know.
Do they count Parks? Was he not injured though? So
no, he's not injured. Yeah.
Big few of them there. So Reed and the likes of that.
Yeah. So there's a few that had like bigger games, but when I had a look, like Sydney have Buddy Franklin on their list. So Sydney was second with 1,075.
Eat shit, Sydney.
And Fremantle was third with 921, and they had Sandilands on the list. So I mean,
is he still on the list?
Yeah,
he must be about 912 years old.
Yeah. So I mean, Hawthorn was there with Brent Guerra was on the list. I didn't know he was still playing either.
What was he? His injury receding hairline?
Oh, I got no idea. And then St Kilda were fifth. But anyway, I imagine every club would have a couple of players on it who are experienced. 1,420 is an amazing stat. This is again prior to last week. Brisbane's last was 94.
And where are they on the ladder?
Well, they're fourth or something now. Fifth.
Maybe there's something to be said about not having injuries.
Maybe there's something to be said about poaching the fucking best. Only the best. Sorry, podcast people, I'm making air quotes. Only the best.
We can put in some subtitles so they can read it.
That would be funny. Did I tell you about my... No. Damien Barrett...
If there's any other of your jokes I can steal during the show, just let me know.
Damien Barrett wrote an article about the expectations suffocating Collingwood. And
Barrett?
Damien Barrett. And he mentioned how...
Is he still here?
He mentioned how...
I can still smell shit.
He mentioned how, like, whenever something happens at Collingwood, it's news. And one of the examples he used was Jordan De Goey getting caught using his phone while driving. Didn't Damien Barrett break that story?
Yep, on the Sunday Footy Show, I believe. And copped his fair whack in social media for being a non-event.
I sent that to a few people because someone sent me a screenshot and they just sort of said, "How is this fucking news?"
Well, that's what. If you see the footage of the Footy Show, I watched it on Twitter. Brownless was incredulous around why the fuck are we talking about this? And then they tried to talk about traffic accidents and all that sort of thing. Things that you obviously need Jordan De Goey to fuck up for you to actually realise common sense doesn't prevail. For you not to do it, but it's completely baffling. And it's because it's attached to a Collingwood jumper. And it's the only reason.
I saw Mona Hope talk, which was the AFLW Collingwood side a few years ago, and she said it. She goes, "Scrutiny on Collingwood players is ridiculous." She goes, "I do something, it's in the news." And a really good example, I think she had
some breakfast once?
No.
She left the crust on her plate.
I stand to be corrected. She had some sort of driving offence. And hers made like all the news, and then Selwood cost, he had a driving offence too, and he cost Geelong that Ford sponsorship, whatever it was, or TAC sponsorship. And Mona Hope was the news, not the Geelong captain. Jeez. Anyway,
you have to laugh.
I would if I wasn't so sad. Okay, this is a two-part question.
Oh, good. What's the second part?
When I was trolling for news, Jordan De Goey...
When you were trialling the news?
Trolling for news.
Trolling the news. Well, there's two words you don't hear together too all often.
Jordan De Goey has a Goal of the Year nomination from the Hawthorn game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, yay. So and there's like the highlights on the Collingwood website and all this. After the fucking loss, I think you were a little bit upset from memory. Just a little bit.
So it seems to be a common thing these days.
And I know a few people who are more moderate in their disappointment following a loss. And they were all going off of the Collingwood social media, talking about, tough game, but we've gone down, and just sort of...
It's not our night.
Yeah, it's like... And I recall there's a few people on Twitter who were just going to Collingwood, what the fuck? How the fuck are you sort of trying to push it like, oh, well, it was tough luck?
Yeah. Bad luck, we lost.
Yeah.
Cheerio, pip, pip, next week. Off we go.
That really, I hate seeing that shit. And I hate going to the website and seeing, the top 5 highlights from the Hawthorn match. I would actually rather the club just came out and said, you know what, we're not putting out highlights this week because we do not want to use any part of that game, even the good bits, because there's a couple of little good bits.
Was there?
Yeah. Well, the go is goal of the year nomination. But even like the good bits, we don't want to exemplify it because this was just shit and it's unacceptable. We're not going to celebrate a moment of it. But
perfect. Collingwood?
We're Collingwood. And this led to, because I saw the Collingwood Turtle talk about Buckley's record against Alistair Clarkson. And I could be wrong because I checked the stats and maybe I hadn't updated.
Did he use the word putrid?
111 versus Alistair Clarkson. Seriously. Maybe we should just not show up and that way we can avoid injuries. So then that forced me to... It actually forced me to look...
The Force?
That's not the way the Force works. It actually forced me to look at Buckley's record against other coaches.
Oh, this will be interesting.
So, and I looked at the ones who, except for in one case, I looked at where we had about 10 games as a sampling. He's 3-7 versus Adam Simpson, West Coast coach.
Yeah, I know who he is. Believe me.
I
wish it was 4-6. Or is that right? Yeah.
I wish it was fucking 10 straight, because even if that was 9-1, I know which one the one would have been. 3-6 versus Ken Hinkley, which surprised me.
I remember him. Wasn't he the greatest American hero?
He was the greatest American hero. What a show. They tried to reboot that, didn't
Look
it?
at what's happened to me.
Yeah.
Those words still ring true today.
6-6 versus Damien Hardwick.
Damien 666.
So that's a bit of a surprise. And I know, like, Buckley oversaw a rebuild and all that sort of shit. 5 each versus John Longmire.
Yeah.
So now we're going into the positives. 5-4 versus Ross Lyon.
There's a super coach.
6-5 versus Chris Scott, which is a surprise. 7-3 versus John Worsfold.
I could outdo that one.
I'm not going to mention the name of this coach. He's no longer coaching. Buckley had only one overwhelmingly positive coaching win-loss record. It was 5-0.
Was it Mick?
Yeah, against Mick Bolter. Mick, come back and coach.
And people question the succession plan.
Finally, a few weeks ago, Mark Robinson said there should be an asterisk.
I was waiting for us to get to Mark Robinson.
Yep, he said there should be an asterisk on
Jaden. What about an obelisk?
There's a new movie out now, should be an asterisk on Jaden Stevenson's torpedo goal against St Kilda.
Haven't we covered this already?
No, because then what's come out is they've revealed that torpedo goal actually cost him one of the legs of his multi. So, can you still have an asterisk on it? Because it's proven that...
He's a dickhead?
No, yeah,
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But it's proven that fucked up. So he didn't try and manipulate the result or anything. He kicked the goal. So should Mark Robinson come out and apologise for questioning Jaden Stevens' integrity?
I'm not sure you can use Robbo and apology in the same sentence. I don't think the twains ever will meet.
Anyway, that's it from Medium Mephitic. We'll be back with the match preview versus the Eagles.
This should be quick.
Yep. So we're back with the match preview. I just want to...
Eagles by 48 goals. Thanks for watching.
I just want to put this one in really quickly. We ran a poll on our Facebook page, in case you don't like it, asking if our premiership hopes are done. 58% of people thought they are done.
How many times did I vote?
I don't even...
I had to create 48 aliases to get this number across.
I bet you didn't. And so the expectation is our season is done and the damage the Eagles are going to do to us. Reserves won another one, thanks to the difference. Won by 3 points.
The difference has to come in, I think.
Will's got 29 touches, back from a calf complaint. John Noble, the difference, got 28 touches coming off half-back. Broomhead kicked 2 goals. Varco did very little.
He's consistent.
there was no injuries, and the one thing I think I got to mention in the match review is if you had to sort of take positives out of it, I would say Quaynor had a really good debut.
Yep, very good.
And he'll get better as he gets more experience. Great to get Scharenberg through another game.
Yep, and I think he was okay.
Yeah, and I actually thought there was a few times he sort of took it on a bit more. And I thought Josh Dacos the first half was really good. He was lively. His disposal wasn't the greatest. He squandered a few chances. He missed a couple of goals, which probably he should have ended up with 3. So those 3 I expect to keep their spot.
And what about the passengers? Who was the best of the passengers?
Best of the passengers? Who do you... Cyanide disposal. So you think he'll be dropped?
He's not mounting a good argument to be retained. I mean, he is essential. If he gets back to that form of last year, I'd be loath to drop him. I mean, we don't have a lot of options sitting in the wings apart from the difference, really.
Yeah. Chris Mayne, only 13 disposals. Callum Brown, 15. We thought he should have had a spell last week. Josh Thomas with 15. You're obviously not going to drop the Trelaws, the side bottoms, and all that sort of stuff.
Well, why not?
I would drop Callum Brown. I think he needs a spell. I would honestly give Broomhead a chance.
I think so. Yep, I can't disagree with that. What about Josh Thomas, though?
Josh Thomas, I would also drop. And
why? What's he done wrong?
What's he done right?
Well, that's a good point.
I would bring Noble in. I mean, Noble's playing in the SNFL, so...
He's a seasoned big... Well,
yeah.
He's not big, but he'd be used to playing against big bodies. Yeah. I think it's worth rolling the dice as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Get
the difference in.
The query is whether you persevere with Si one more week. I'm a big fan of Rupert Wills. I know people feel that he's probably had his chances, but...
Yeah, I'm not one of them.
I thought when he first appeared, I thought he showed quite a bit, and then he had a lot of these injury runs. But again, it's a big body. Noble and Broomhead I'd play. Josh Thomas and Callum Brown I'd drop. I don't know if there's anyone waiting in the wings.
Adams is supposed to be declaring himself available, isn't he? So the thing is, we have back-to-back travelling.
Yeah.
How does that work? Has that ever happened before?
I'm sure it happens to someone else.
Oh, it probably happens to the other sides. We won't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
If he's ready, would you bring him back on an interstate trip?
If he's ready, I'll bring him back. Fucking make him captain if he came back. If he was ready.
His absence is very, very telling.
Yeah. But I would make sure he was ready, because
Should he just run in between some witches' hats? Would that be... I mean, the rest of the playing squad. Sorry, did I say witches' hats?
Well, they said Elliot said they wanted to get 3 to 4 weeks of solid training behind me. He said he's been ready for a while. If they've got to do the same thing with Adams, I seriously believe they tried to bring him back for Sydney. I reckon he broke down again because his injury time span is way off what they originally projected and what was being circulated.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know about other injuries. Given it's Collingwood, you can't go by the media, you can't go by the game, and there's 4 days between this and the game. There's every chance that a couple of players will get leprosy and do hamstrings or...
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it'll be seeing how they go, and obviously matchups come into it, but clearly there's a couple of blokes in the VFL who should almost get a game on merit alone, and there is quite a few in the senior sides who should be dropped because they've been putrid. But what do? You can't drop them all. You've got to have something come in for something that you hope is going to do something.
So guys like Levi Greenwood, I don't know where they're at, and it's no point looking at the fucking injury report, which says 2 to 3 weeks for players, and then 16 weeks later they're still at 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm just going on what we know. Although they're playing Noble as a halfback, there's really no spot for him there. I thought Chris was probably one of our better players. Chris, Maynard, Aish, and now Quaynor in there. I would seriously think about bringing Noble in as the defensive type forward. Add some pressure around there. I'd keep Dacos in. I thought he was lively. Brown just looks like he needs a break. I've said this before. I would move more forward. I think there's way too much talent there to just spend at fullback. And I'd probably look at that when Howard's back. Right now, you probably can't. But the midfield's the big query, and that's the engine room which they can't get started.
That needs some spark injected to it because it's staler than last year's bread.
I will say one thing. Pendlebury, toward the end of the game, he started running through the middle at centre bounces. So he wasn't just
I'm
sort of
glad
standing.
someone had a crack at it.
Yeah, but he wasn't just standing there. It was like he must have talked to
Was
Grundy.
there a tumbleweed running along next to him?
No, that would have been in the reserves. But he was like, Cripps. He was trying to grab the ball and go. So he didn't want to be static. And, credit to him for fucking trying something because the rest are just flat-footed. And we look at the stats. And stats are such a bullshit thing now because there's so many chips. And, we did it quite a bit where we chip forward, chip back, went around sideways and all that sort of shit. So it's like you get 20 possessions, but 5 of them in one chain. So I really don't know what they're going to do about that midfield. I think numbers are flattering players like Treloar and all that because they're just fucking passing it back and forth. But they need to do something. And whether that's just trying something totally left field, like throwing Maynard in there, or, throwing more down the full forward, playing Myercheck at centre-half back and seeing if that creates a little bit more. What I really do want to see, though, is whoever plays this full forward, I want it to be Cox or one of the other talls, and then just perch Dacos and whoever just at his feet and just say, fucking crumb. If you don't crumb, put pressure. I'm sick of watching the ball rebound out of air like it's coming off a trampoline.
Fair points.
What are your thoughts? Going to win, lose?
I don't want to answer this one. I don't think we're anywhere near a snowball's chance on this one, and I think it's quite conceivable to be staring at a 10-goal plus loss.
I'm going to tip us by 6 points.
Well, there you have it. Both ends of the spectrum.
I'm just going to go by the logic that sometimes you lift for much better teams, and hopefully West Coast drag us in their wake. Although I do have to acknowledge, I'm shit scared of Ish just becoming one of the ugliest clusters. And this is one of these ones, if they lose by 10 goals, I just fucking fire everyone after the game, and I just...
No, don't wait till after the game. Just do it during the game.
Yeah.
Just send some lawyers out.
I would seriously...
You out!
I would just fire and drop everyone, and next week I would play John Noble versus GWS.
Yeah, that'd be the difference.
That would be the only player I'd play.
There's the one thing that I'm thinking that could be a positive in this is that generally sometimes when your back's against the wall, these interstaters are a chance for you to get away from it and consolidate. I don't think it'll be this week. But that's potentially the following week. But I think.
But that's a really good point because they get away from the scrutiny of the Victorian media. They're now playing a side who's everyone can acknowledge they're better. They have the wood over us.
They got Nick Nack back.
There's less pressure on us to perform than there has been the last 4 or 5 weeks where we're playing teams well below us and everyone's expecting us to just click, win, pulverise them, and that's not happening. So we don't have that sort of expectation on us anymore. So that's why I
don't think we've got any expectation on us anymore.
I know we've played West Coast already once this year, but I recall in 1991 we had a really shit start to the season and we were playing very much like we're playing now. And we didn't play Essendon until about round 10 or something. And we'd beaten them in the grand final the year before. And that was like the game that woke them up. And then from that point, Collingwood were like the best side in the competition outside the Six as it was back then. And they just fell short. But it was like they needed that match against the grand final opponent to really wake them back up to their full potential. So I know we've played and lost to West Coast once already. But I'm just hoping that this game will provide a similar sort of wake-up call. I'm hoping.
You're using the word hope a lot, I notice.
Yeah, I talked about Mona Hope too, so it's like poetry.
It rhymes.
Yeah. Anyway, so your tip was 68-goal loss?
Yep. 68-goal loss, yep. I'm not going to change that one either.
And I'm going 6-point win. So we'll be back next week, won't we?
It's getting harder.
So subscribe, share us with your friends and
your enemies.
And with Mark Robinson if you know him. And
the Mark Roker.
Listen to us on our podcast, like us, leave comments. There was a comment from Ross about a grand final experience he had in 2011, which we'll get to when we have a few. Anyway, I'm sure it's not going to take long. Although Ed did say, what are you doing, dredging up these fucking memories?
Why don't you give me a paper cup and pour lemon juice in it? Anyway, we will see you next week. Out there. Later. Catch. I'm not taking any omens this week.